From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your 4 p.m. update briefing for Central North Carolina. Wintry mix of precipitation possible late Thursday and Friday. What has changed since our 9 a.m. briefing? Well, the main change is the winter storm watch is now in effect for portions of the Triad region. So specifically in National Weather Service Raleigh's county warning area, that would include Guilford, Forsyth, and Davidson. But obviously you see the counties there west of Forsyth and Davidson and north of Forsyth also under a watch as well. So, this may be tweaked as we head into the next day, overnight shift, and then tomorrow morning we'll see. But right now, this is the way the watches are aligned. So as I go to the next slide here, this is pretty much the same as what we had earlier today at 9 a.m. The only difference is we put in we tweaked the amounts there. For impacts and snow, we have total snow accumulations of 1 to 2 inches in the watch area, with isolated areas upwards of 3 inches. And then we expect that to be very isolated. I'll show that here in just a minute. And this is most likely in the Triad region along and north of the 85 corridor. Although it's possible that snow could be seen falling as far east as the I-95 corridor, but we don't expect anything in the way of troublesome accumulations that far east. And again, the timing would be more like early Friday morning through the daytime Friday. And given that it's a daytime event, that's always helpful in limiting accumulations to some degree, unless it's coming down really hard. Now, because it's marginal temperatures, the snow will be a very heavy and wet snow. So, for those places that do get the isolated 3-inch amounts, it's possible there could be a couple snapped tree branches that could cause some subsequent power outages. So I don't think right now that's going to be a big deal, but obviously we didn't want to leave that out. So we just bumped up these arrows here to elevated for snow and snow amounts, mainly because we issued a watch. And these are fresh images as well, just to kind of give you a sense of the what, the when, and the where. But always keep in mind that these are radar simulations, and radar simulations should always be used with caution. They're only meant to give a very rough approximation of where the precipitation may occur, where there may be a rain-snow line. And keep in mind, these radar simulations are subject to have very large errors. So don't take this to the bank, so to speak, right now. This is just meant to give you kind of a rough idea. Now, you'll notice that pretty much everywhere across central North Carolina, the precip starts as rain, and then as the atmosphere cools, then we get some changeover to wintry mix and then some snow. But as we've been highlighting, this is the I-85 corridor. It's along and north of that corridor where we think it'll kind of hang on the longest in terms of, snow is the P-type. Further east toward I-95 in the U.S. or in the Triad region and Fayetteville regions, we're expecting mainly a rain event here. Now, late in the day, as the low wraps up offshore and maybe deepens, that rain snow line may shift a bit further east, a bit further south of the I-85 corridor. And you could see that in the 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. time frame. That's shifting just a little bit east. The problem is it doesn't look like that's going to happen early enough, and it doesn't look like there's going to be enough actual precipitation equivalent to really amount to much of a problem. And you'll notice here by 4 a.m. Saturday it's gone. So again, very helpful that this is occurring during the daytime. That should, at least in some regard, help to limit accumulations, except when it's unless the rates are very very high. So when you look at all this and you see these lines, you can see that this is very climatological. What we have set up here is kind of what we tend to normally have with winter weather events, where the northern Piedmont up near the Virginia border, the western Piedmont, the Triad region, and the southwest portions and western portions of our central North Carolina tend to be more on the snow side, with locations from the triangle eastward and southward tend to be more on the rain side. And I don't expect that this would vary a whole lot from prior events and from climatology, at least at this point anyway. All right, so that's the what, the when, the where. And again, use these with caution. They're subject to errors. Of course, there could be some variation, obviously, in this. All right, so when we add it all up, this is our latest snowfall range of snowfall possibilities. And, we always give a range of what is the absolute bare minimum to expect. And that's in the lower left. And that's the 90% likelihood there. And it says zeros. And again, just to clarify any confusion about why there's a likelihood of zero. And what that basically means is that there's a lot of models that still show nothing happening in terms of accumulation. Okay, so when I see the low end amount start to increase, that's when I really start to get kind of concerned, because that's sort of the least amount you can expect. On the flip side, on the lower right is the maximum potential. Now this is what we see as the storm's maximum potential snow accumulation based on the worst case scenario models that we're looking at. And the worst case scenario models we're looking at would suggest, again, this is kind of worst case. And let me get my highlighter here. Would suggest worst case would be, you guessed it, along and north of the 85 corridor, where there could be 2 to 3 inches. Now, the most likely would suggest that our northwest corners of Guilford, Forsyth, and Davidson County, particularly north and west of the line that I just drew, is the area that we expect to see 1 to 2 inches of snowfall. And you're probably wondering, well, is 1 to 2 inches of snowfall even worthy of a winter storm watch? And the case is that we expect somewhere in the watch area, we expect there could be some heavier, more prolonged bands of snow that could put down isolated 3-inch amounts. And while that's not explicitly shown on the expected snowfall map, do know that 3 inches is the criteria for a winter storm watch, and we think that's possible. But right now, we don't think it's going to be widespread. So keep in mind that if we do end up having to change this to an advisory, remember a winter weather advisory is an upgrade to a watch. So even if we decide that we don't need a warning, that we need an advisory, that is still an upgrade to a watch. So please, 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 in the end, if we end up going with a winter weather advisory, don't say that's been downgraded. Please, that would be completely inaccurate. A winter weather advisory is an upgrade to a watch. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm not saying that that's the way what we're going to do, but I'm saying if these lower end amounts do come to pass, we may just need an advisory, which is again still an upgrade to a watch. All right, so there you have it for the amounts. And I think that pretty much conveys everything we wanted to get across on this briefing. The main headline is a winter storm watch is now in effect from late Thursday night through Friday evening for Forsyth, Guilford, and Davidson counties, and counties north and west of there, outside of the Raleigh coverage area. All right. Total snow accumulation is 1 to 2 inches, with isolated areas of 3 inches possible in the winter storm watch area. And that will be Thursday night through Friday. And again, most likely along and north of the 85 corridor. It's possible that snow could fall and be seen as far east as the I-95 corridor, but we don't think there it's going to be really problematic. Okay, we'll keep our eyes on things. If things, we're still a day and a half away, so things could change, but that's the way we see it right now. And that lines up more with climatology. Okay, and again, don't forget that where the 3-inch amounts do occur, there could be some snapped branches, some power outages. Don't expect that to be widespread, at least at this point. Always there's track of the low pressure, and the amount of cold air will ultimately determine where that rain snow line is. So obviously things are subject to change still. But on the good news, as I pointed out, this is a mainly daytime event. So anyway, that should help limit the accumulations. All right. So that wraps it up for this live webinar. We will do, we will email and post to our website these slides here shortly. As soon as we wrap this up, they'll be posted to our webpage. The next set of updated slides will be issued by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. tomorrow morning is our next live webinar. Okay, so be sure to join us for that.